Good morning, beautiful people. My name is Sharice, and welcome to my channel. So, today, I wanted to talk about the necessity of destruction energy. So, destruction. Oh man, I feel like destruction has been such a massive theme throughout my entire life, and I think destruction is a big theme in a lot of people's lives. So, I recently made a video about having a meltdown and how I was having an identity crisis and I was struggling to see what was real. This is something that I've actually gone through multiple times in my life. I think the first major time that I went through an extreme identity crisis where I basically had a redefining of all of my beliefs that I'd had since I was basically born was when I was 18 years old and I left the church. I was raised by a missionary family. They were Pentecostal missionaries. And I'm now 29, so I've been out of the church for about 11 years. But when I left the church, that was my first massive internal destruction of all of my belief systems, and everything that I had thought was real was just questioned and put up in the lineup of what's going to remain, basically. So I've been through this since then many times in my life, and every time it happens, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks to have everything that you believe in just I don't know what's fucking real anymore. It's not the most enjoyable experience, but something that I personally have learned from going through these basically destruction cycles, kind of like Phoenix energy, to be honest, where you are burned to ashes. There's nothing of you left. There's nothing of the old version of yourself left. And you basically are recreating yourself from the fires of your destruction, a brand new version of yourself, but at the same time, you're kind of building yourself from whatever pieces are left over. This destruction cycle is often necessary to remove the poison from our lives and to remove the poison from ourselves, whether it is certain belief systems we have instilled based on what we've been taught by others, by political groups, by religious groups, spiritual groups, whatever it may be, by society, or whether it's things that you've taught yourself over the years through even meditation. A lot of my beliefs have come from meditative practice. I actually find that usually the meditative belief systems that I've created tend to be the ones that stick the longest. Not all of them, though. Even those often go through destructive periods where I have to learn to let them go because they are no longer beneficial to my life. Sometimes you're learning how to release toxic patterns and behaviors that you've either learned recently or have had for a very long time. For me, one of the toxic patterns that I am learning to release, and I have been learning to release for quite a while now, is obsessiveness and delusions, extreme delusions. These are probably two of my biggest insecurities, to be honest. I don't always really like to talk about it because of how much pain that they have brought me, but I've also learned that this is something that I've actually been talking to my therapist about recently, about how these types of things, obsessiveness and delusions, are actually created as some type of safety mechanism, as some type of protection over yourself. Or perhaps you are creating these because there is something that inside of yourself, some need that is not being met. So your subconscious is actually creating certain stories to give you that fulfillment, to try and meet your needs. And it's not always beneficial in the long run, but it is a part of yourself that is actually trying to create some type of fulfillment and protection. For me, I think it often stems from extreme loneliness, and a part of myself is trying to fill that loneliness with obsessions and delusions or whatever else it might be. And I'm learning that I have to let that stuff go, along with a lot of other toxic behaviors and beliefs that I've created and learned to just partake in as a subconscious protection mechanism. A lot of times these are subconscious, a lot of times they're not subconscious. But yeah, so destruction sometimes is necessary to let those parts of yourself go. One big kind of tie in that I have learned to do over the years in these types of situations, especially if they are patterns that you were repeating from your childhood, when you get that, when that part of you that is trying to create in that same type of pattern that's trying to protect you, kind of taking a step back from it, especially if this actually is not a beneficial pattern, because sometimes they might feel beneficial in the moment, but they're not actually creating progress and healing in your life, and they actually might be holding you back from living truly and really and creating in a better way. So when you notice these old patterns starting to rise up and that subconscious inner self basically trying to protect you and fulfill your needs, taking a step back from it and being like, hey, thank you. Thank you. You've been here with me since I was a child. Perhaps it's since you were a child. You've been here with me since I was a child, and I know that I needed you when I was a child to protect me, and that's why you're here. That's your purpose. That's the purpose of that part of yourself, but I don't need you anymore. And this is no longer beneficial to me. Sometimes you have to be real with yourself about the patterns and behaviors that you are repeating in your life that are no longer beneficial. And sometimes it will come back up over and over again, and you will have to repeat this. And I understand that can be really discouraging sometimes. I can get a little bit wrapped up in at times, feeling like I haven't made any progress when old patterns or things come back up. But then I remind myself, I've made so much progress. I made so much progress from the girl I was even 5 years ago, let alone a decade ago. Like, wow, I have improved so much on myself and my life, and it can be really easy to get lost in those moments of destruction or old patterns and beliefs coming back up, but you can get through it. You can get through it. So, yes, sometimes it feels like everything is crumbling inside of you or around you. And, I do think that while I am very strongly a mystic and I try to find the reasons for everything, like the ties, the connection, and everything, sometimes things just happen. I think that is a belief that a lot of people need to adopt to give themselves a little bit of compassion depending on what they're going through, rather than trying to just like dissect a reason for everything going on or what you did wrong. Sometimes it is actually good to put aside mysticism and the self-studying and just be like, you know what? Sometimes things happen that are outside of your control, and kind of trying at least to be at peace with that and move forward from it. But a lot of times, guys, destruction happens as a removal mechanism. And I think that I especially see this in repeating old patterns. When you realize that you've been repeating an old pattern and you go through the inner crumbling, and it's like, oh man, is anything real? Like I've been going through recently, and you start to question everything you've ever known and all your belief systems. It's just like, I did get a little bit into this mode of just being like, nothing's real. I can't even trust myself. If I can't trust myself, who can I trust? And I'm starting to come out of this, and I will say, guys, when you go through these types of periods in your life, I genuinely believe, and this might not be perfect for everybody, but I genuinely believe that the best way to get through it is by facing it head on. Face the destruction, face the pain, face the depression, face the anxiety, face the insecurity and your ego being triggered by realizing that you're not right about everything. And then maybe you're wrong about a lot more than you thought. Face it. Go straight through that darkness. It sucks. It sucks. And honestly, a lot of times people aren't going to like to see you going through the darkness. But you're going to come out on the other side. You are. Look at me. I'm out on the other side. I'm still dealing with a little stuff. But you know what? I faced that shit. And I went through a pretty intense few days of extreme pessimism a week. It used to last a lot longer than that. So I totally understand if it's a little bit longer for you. We all deal with grief and heal from it and process it at our own rate. And I don't know exactly how much you're going through. Like, for instance, with the church, when I left the church and was like, wow, everything I believed in since I was a kid is a lie. Like, that took me quite a bit longer to move through that grief and pessimism period. But face it. Face it. I think that it's not necessarily good to stay stuck inside of that, but sometimes there is a purpose of entering that other kind of pessimistic side. Sometimes you need to be more real with yourself rather than just allowing all of these things that you believed, even if they're not necessarily right for you or not creating progress in your life in any way. Sometimes you have to let a lot of shit go, and it will look a lot like destruction, so you can become the person that you want to be and live the life that you want to live, not attached to old negative and toxic patterns and behaviors. Face it. Just go straight through it, guys. Go straight through the darkness. You're not alone. A lot of people are going through this stuff. Perhaps different, perhaps the same. But sometimes healing and growth can look a lot like destruction. I actually have this thing I want to read for you guys. My friend and mentor, Lar, maybe you're watching this. She wrote this down and gave it to me some years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, and I have held on to it, and it has actually been something that I have looked back to in different moments of my healing and my growth process where I just feel like everything is crumbling and I don't know what to believe and I'm just in a place of fucking darkness. I'm gonna read this little note to you guys, and maybe it will bring some encouragement to your life like it has to me over the years. For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. So I think that that is something that I have really looked to over the years to encourage myself in these periods of darkness, that, you know what, you're a seed being planted, those kind of beliefs, but like more than that, like sometimes when you're growing, you're in a period of darkness. Sometimes when you're outgrowing an older version of yourself, you are in a period of darkness, and it will rip away the old pieces of you, and it will hurt like hell. And some people will be like, it will only hurt like hell if you're holding on to it. No. No. I have been very quick to let go of shit that has been ripped away from me, and it still hurt like hell. It still hurt like hell. Sometimes growth is painful. Sometimes growth is painful. I do not think that growth is always painful, though. So yeah, guys, I am coming out of that funk. I will put a link in the description to the video I was talking about where I am basically having a meltdown. It wasn't my main meltdown, but if you're uncomfortable with tears and crying, maybe that's not the video for you, because I do when I post videos about the lows I'm going through, I tend to get a little bit of emotional, but feel free to check that video out. Like I said, I will put a link in the description. Also, guys, please do like and subscribe. It helps my channel to grow if you like the video or you want to see more. So, yeah, guys, basically, this is just some encouragement to anybody else going through some type of period of destruction in their life. Whether it's internal or external, I am so sorry that you are going through that. I am so sorry. I wish I could give you a big hug. I'm giving you a big hug and sending you love through this video, and I hope that you receive it. It is really rough to go through periods of darkness and destruction, but I believe in you. And I know that this is like something that it can be toxic when people say it to you, that like, oh, it's just gonna grow you into a stronger person. When you're in the darkness and you're in the funk, you're just like, leave me the fuck alone. I don't really need to hear that bullshit. It does not make me feel like I'm becoming stronger. I feel weaker right now than ever before. But as somebody speaking from experience, when you come out on the other side of that, you will be stronger. And this is not necessarily the case for everyone. I hope that I am just affirming something positive over your life right now through the place of darkness or destruction that you might be going through. But I hope that you know that destruction is not, it's not always the end of the world. Destruction isn't always a bad thing. It can be really difficult to go through a complete redefining and re-examining of your beliefs or your patterns and behaviors. Changing the way that you do things. But oftentimes there is a massive benefit to that. To learning to do something differently, especially if you do want growth and improvement and healing more in your life. Sometimes when you want something different, it means you have to become something different. And that doesn't mean that your old version of yourself wasn't worthy of that. You've always been worthy of the love, of the dreams, of the things that you want in life. But sometimes life requires you to be something different, to receive different, to be even capable of receiving the blessings. And I'm sorry if that is not encouraging to everybody. I feel like that's not always encouraging to myself. But I hope that you know, if you are in a period of destruction and letting go an old version of yourself, that first of all, that old version of yourself deserves love and patience. You were doing your best with what you had at that point in your life. And now perhaps life is requiring you to change and is kind of creating that change for you, sometimes out of your control. Perhaps that old version of you was so beautiful, but this new version of you is also so beautiful and also worthy of love. You deserve patience with this period of destruction and darkness in your life, especially from yourself. I've got to be more patient with myself as well. So I get it. But yeah, guys. Thank you for being here. thank you for being a part of my journey and my own healing process, because man, do I have a lot of ups and downs. But I feel like it's so beautiful to get to share that with you guys and show my personal progress through these ups and downs in my little mental health and healing journey and emotional roller coaster, because I am such an emotional person. And I tend to process the things in life very, very deeply emotionally, but I also think that the more I've learned to embrace that side of myself, and perhaps you're not like that, but perhaps you are, the more that I've learned to embrace that I process things on a more deeply emotional level, I have actually found that my healing and my movement through dark periods is extremely accelerated. So, if you are a highly, deeply emotional person, I just want to say right now, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you for being highly, deeply emotional. Okay? So, I hope that you allow that side of yourself to shine through, because it's honestly very beautiful. Not everybody processes life in the same way as you, and I know that sometimes it can be one of those things that is a little bit less societally acceptable and tends to be a little bit more put down, that specific type of processing. But you are unique. That is beautiful, and just because other people don't necessarily process things like that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them either. We are all unique, beautiful people. We are all connected, yes, but we all have our own ways of processing the things that we are going through in life. So, whichever way that you are, I wish you the most love and peace in your journey. You are not alone. You are not alone. We are all going through our own things in life, and I hope that you have the support system that you need. And if you don't, I hope that you find that or you create that in your own life, because you are deserving of support and love and comfort and all that good stuff. Alright, guys, that's gonna be it for my video. Once again, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful and magical day. I love you and I believe in you.